and this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio! The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
There is a time to question. There is a time for answers. There is a time to challenge. There is a time to speculate. There is a time for change. There is a time for truth. The time is now. Welcome to Night Fright, your voice in the dark for paranormal and conspiracy radio. And now your host, Brent Holland.
Aloha. No, it's not Brent Holland. This is Stargate to the Cosmos with your host, Janet Kara Lisson, and Dr. Sasha Alex Lisson, producer Thomas Becker, and our guests today are Geraldine Orozco and Cassandra Vanzant. Geraldine is on the first hour. We have to get our, preview recorded because it keeps coming up with the other show. Okay, my apologies. And we are on Revolution Radio, Studio B. And let me tell everybody a little bit about our first guest in the first hour. Her name is Geraldine Briscoe, and she's an intuitive DNA reprogrammer and ascension coach. On October 15, 2013, Geraldine experienced a vivid abduction from her bedroom window where she recounts being taken on board a ship, and she met tall grays that introduced her to her 8 hybrid children. The next morning she encounters a hypersensitivity to the human electromagnetic field. And this discovery initiates a journey to find the truth about what happened. So she had a first hypnotherapy session in June of 2017, which resulted in the discovery of repeated abductions originating in her childhood. And she recounts her abductions through her regressions. So this information, there's, I don't have the link here. I'll have to put that on later. She has her regression sessions. She's very bold to post them and put it out there. She's really out there. She's now she's presenting these at conferences. So I'm going to let her tell you the whole story. But if you want to read more about Geraldine, I posted her information on aquarianradio.com. And before we get on Geraldine, I want to test our mic. Sasha, Dr. Lesson, Alex, are you there?
I'm here, and I'm eagerly waiting to hear Geraldine.
Right. We met Geraldine at a conference in March of this year in California. So we're really excited to have her back on. You've been on before. Yeah. This is a repeat. Geraldine, welcome to the show. Are you there? Is she there? All righty. Okay. Not sure what's going on.
Janet, just in case
yes,
such a thing occurred, I have prepared something that people might be interested in that I'd like to read while you're trying to get Geraldine.
Okay, something brief while I'm working on this, and I'm going to text the Mad Painter and see if we dropped off the face of the earth. We don't even know if we're broadcasting. Alrighty, okay, so let's see.
Okay, is that all right, Janet?
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is stuff from Stephen Greer. He's talking about what we've got to come out with, now given the information that we have. Linear relative reality and non-local, non-linear reality both simultaneously exist as reality. Their perception and understanding is dependent on the level of consciousness of the observer. Even physical matter has an aspect of its nature that is non-local, transcendent, and conscious. Conscious, intelligent, biological life forms have physical realities as well as a spiritual potential to manifest physical and spiritually in a multitude of ways. Pure mind, unbounded consciousness is innate to all life forms and is the ultimate highest denominator which all life shares. It's non-local, not bound by the constraints of time or space, but can manifest in time-space reality. Beings which do not have biological bodies, astral or spiritual beings, are also conscious, intelligent entities, and they can interact with conscious life forms, biological and otherwise. The beings that do not have biological bodies can even affect a physical manifestation, and the highest common denominator linking these beings with other life forms and biological beings is unbounded consciousness or non-local mind. The universe, then, consists of both linear and non-linear or transcendent aspects simultaneously at every point in time, space, and in non-time, non-space. Every point in time and space exists in every other throughout the quality of non-locality. God, or a universal all-knowing being, is enhanced by the recognition of this vast multiplicity of life in the universe, recognition of the infinite diversity and limitless scope of life in the cosmos, is what Dr. Greer thinks of as consciousness, of the consciousness, the creator of all, as it were. Yes, Janet, what were you going to say?
I don't know. I had to focus on getting her online, so I'm kind of like spacing out here. We've got Geraldine online, but we can't hear her. So I'm going to see if Matt can call her on the phone. Oh, there you are. Woo!
Hello.
What was going on? Were you muted or?
Oh, yes, I was muted. I wasn't sure if I should jump in or wait for Mr. Lesson to finish, but I am here.
Yeah. Yeah, Doctor. It's Doctor.
Dr. Lesson.
Anyway.
Yes.
Dr. Lesson. Okay. Now, we had introduced you, and then I don't know what happened. Anyway, so we're ready to have you speak. And I guess you missed what I said. I gave a little intro. But go ahead, Sasha.
So, Geraldine, start with, perhaps the way it unfolded for you when you had your contact and then the successive hypnosis. And, what I want everyone to know is that Geraldine was already prepared by who she was and her education to make the most of this experience. Okay, go ahead.
That's true. First of all, I want to say hi to everyone. Thank you so much for having me on here, Janet and Dr. Lesson. I really appreciate it and the opportunity to speak on these matters.
It's our privilege. We are we're so happy you're here. So yes, go ahead, continue.
Thank you so much, Janet. Well, yeah, so I will begin letting you know, and yes, Dr. Lesson is correct. I mean, before I got into all of these things, I mean, my preparation was mostly from a perspective of my inner work, my meditation. I mean, I had been teaching meditation 10 years prior to 2013, which is when I had my experience. And in 2013, I was abducted from my bedroom window, and I can run you really quickly through what that experience was like. It was just a matter of fact of waking up at 3:33 in the morning. And as I wake up, I look down at my phone and it's 3:33. And, there's a bright light in my room, and I wake up and I walk up to the window. And I am so blinded by this white light that it is completely just my eyes are hurting. It is so bright. And so as I look through the blinds of my window, I am looking at this incredible metallic ship that I'm seeing in front of me, and beyond that, just the incredible bright light. And before I know it, I am completely paralyzed from head to toe, and I am being pulled out through my window into the other side of my wall here in front of this white light, in front of this ship, in front of these shadows of 6 beings that are in front of me. And as I'm being brought on into this ship, one of the beings approaches me, and I am terrified. I mean, I am so horrified that I'm feeling nauseous, and I want to scream and yell. And, you know, I've never experienced such an experience like this. So the being next to me is, telepathically communicates to me and tells me to calm down. And as he does, all of this fear and anxiousness in my body just immediately melts away, it disappears, and I am coming into this neutral state. And he brings me onto the ship. And as he brings me onto the ship, the rest of the 5 beings, the tall grays, walk into the ship, and they just disappear inside. And the being next to me that is bringing me on waves his hand, and the environment around me, now that I'm in the ship, is changing. So as I'm walking into the ship, I'm seeing the metal framing, I'm seeing the metal floor. I mean, I can draw for you in detail what this looks like. And he just waves his hand, and all of a sudden I'm seeing green grass, blue sky, and these strange obtuse buildings. Now, as I'm being brought into these buildings, I step up into one of the buildings and I turn around. And again, you have to understand that I'm kind of in a zombie mode. I mean, I'm not fully able to manage my movements and my emotions at that point. And as I turn around, I'm seeing these 3 beings walk across me, and one of them, as I look closer, is my aunt. And I am terrified at the fact of seeing her in her nightgown, and she is also zombied out, accompanied by 2 tall gray beings, being, showcased in front of me here in this room. And immediately, as I start to panic, they shift the entire room, and I'm brought back into the ship. I mean, I've always been in the ship, but as you can see, they manipulate time and space by creating holographic illusions, by changing what was around me. And the next thing I see is these 3 grays in front of me, and I'm looking at this magnificent structure of a ship where I can literally see the metal becoming translucent, because this ship is not really made out of this substance that is like a thick metal. It's almost like this, like a hologram, or like some kind of a translucent material that you can see through. And I can see the stars through. I can see stars clearly through the ship. And to my right side, I am looking at a table with a beautiful blue light and a hologram of the stars and planets. And obviously this is some kind of a, I don't know, viewing kind of a machine or a mechanism where they are looking at a hologram of the universe for their travels. And in front of me, they begin to show me these blue square cubic holograms. And as they show me this, they begin to show me all kinds of information. First of all, they show me alien language. And as they're showing this to me, this is something that I drew, and I remember, because as they're showing this to me so quickly, I'm trying to grasp and remember as much as possible as they're running it by me. And they speak in infinities. I mean, you and I are talking here, having this one-on-one conversation, but our conversations are very limited. It's very limited to the topic that we are, and perhaps we can, divulge in ideas and imaginations of things, but the way that they talk is literally in infinities. It's concepts that are involving ourselves, our environment, and the universe all at once. So it's a very complex way of speaking or communicating.
Yes, and I just want to interject and
yes.
just to say I've experienced that my entire life, It's entire concepts. It's like a whole book at once. It's the whole idea. Not people always say, "What did they say?" Well, it's not like words like A, B, C, D, E. It's like concept. Right. So yeah, I just want to interject that as a fellow experiencer. That's what I've experienced.
Yeah, and it's wonderful to hear other experiencers, kind of contribute and connect with the same thing that you've gone through, because it helps you kind of piece together these collective experiences that we have. And so experiencing that was incredible, because I tried to remember as much as possible with my memory as I could take snapshots of it. And it is something that I remember. And when I came back the next day, I wrote down all of the symbols that I could possibly remember. And I have it, and that's what I show in my presentation. I talk about this because later on, we'll get into some of the regression work. And through the regression, I received information on what that writing, what that communicating was about. And the language, of course. So anyway, they begin to show me a string of information. And for one thing, they show me my most recent past, what would seem my reincarnation, perhaps, or embodiment of a different species that I was previously in a Pleiadian life. And my participation in the Pleiadians and my life there. And, I'm being shown the planet and the people that I was with and what I was doing, which was somewhat similar to what I'm doing now, I guess, which is speaking to people about these topics of ascension and, healing. And the most important aspect of this abduction was the fact that they introduced me to my hybrid children. And as they are showing me these cubes, I see these 8 white lights, and the 8 white lights transform into these beings. One little boy that appears in front of me that is so beautiful, and he has the most beautiful, complex eyes. And the sensation of connecting with this child that is mine, that I didn't know was mine, is just so overpowering. And being able to connect with this child on a level that it is so intimate, and that that this child is a part of you. You recognize him and he recognizes you. And, right then and there, it's clear that that is your child. And the incredible thing about the child is that when the child looks at me, he can see right through me. He can see everything about me since the beginning of my essence. And, it's really something that we as humans, it's almost like learning how to be a human in a sense where you are becoming conscious of yourself, not just in this time and space, this very limited time and space and manifestation of you and who you are, but being able to understand that you are so much more complex and you have a vast history of existence. So that's something that child shared with me. And, I met 4 children that moment on that ship, and each one of them was unique. The second child that was introduced to me was more of a reptilian. He was a humanoid, but reptilian. And the eyes are just the most complex eyes, very deep. And literally, they are reptilian and humanoid, but very large eyes. And I draw this, of course, I draw everything that I saw, and I will discuss that in my presentation. I can show you guys so you can all see what that looks like. But that was just something that changed my life. And after this experience, the very next day, one would think, well, maybe it was a dream. Well, maybe it was just something that you imagined or you saw. And what made it real for me was that the very next week, when I was teaching my meditation student, I was able to see their entire multidimensional body. I was able to see their cords, their ancestral lines, the different layers of their body, how it connects, any kind of illnesses that they have in them. I could see everything. It was incredible. And that had never happened to me. And that was the proof for me of this experience happening. And
Geraldine, if I may, this is a very important thing that happened, because it wasn't just one way. It wasn't just that it read you. It went 2 ways. You got some of the knowledge. it went to you too. Did I get you right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. This is something that I received, and when I first recognized it from him, I can't really understand that amount of information until you bring it back home and you experience it with someone else. Then you start to really, see how to utilize that information, and it's so important. And of course, I utilize that in my healings now. And in 2013, after all these things happened, I didn't know who to share it with. I shared it with my immediate family, but even then, very cautiously, because, you never know who is willing to accept such a thing, such a fantastic story. And me coming from a history of being an event planner for 10 years alongside of my business of meditation, so my world was so far away from all of these things. I had no understanding of them, no knowing. And it took me through these couple years after that to finally integrate and come to the conclusion that I really couldn't keep hiding this information anymore. It was so important. Having hyper children and even asking the question, where did they come from and how did they come to be, was really the question that changed my life. And finally,
so what was the answer to that question?
What?
I was poised to ask it. Yes, I mean, so it's like you're coming in the middle of a movie. They're taking you and they're showing you 8 children. How did they come to be?
That's right. Yeah, we're going to get into all of that right now. And really, how I got into that information was in 2017. Just last year, I decided to get a regression to see whether I was crazy making all of this up or it was actually something that happened to me. And I looked out for a lady named Alba Weinman, who is, I found through Dolores Cannon, QHHT regression therapy. And my regression with her was just incredible. Okay, not only was I taken to a life where I was involved previously with some of this work of the creators of this matrix universe, of what I call it now, matrix universe, but also going down the timeline of my many abductions since childhood, since I was 5 years old, and going through each one of them vividly. And all of these are public. I have made them public in order to share this information, to share my journey, and to share with you the kind of transformation of thought and belief and consciousness that I have gone through, very abruptly in 1 year. So here we are.
You keep calling it abductions, which is a sort of a pejorative. Did you consent, and was it really an elopement rather than an abduction?
It's a complex question, and the reason why. I mean, when we talk about consent and we talk about free will, that's kind of a topic that's going into a lot of other complex things that have to do with our existence and what we're doing here. It's an abduction from the sense that they take you against your conscious will, because, when they take you, you are being switched off in a sense. So you're not remembering consciously any of these abductions, any of these things that are happening. So perhaps it might be, with consent on another level, maybe a contractual level, something that has been done in other contractual agreements previously to this lifetime. And it's very complex, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more. But, to understand that, we have to understand who we are here as humans and our connection to our role that we play in this matrix universe. And at the time, I'm going to say it was, without knowing, completely unconscious, and I wouldn't even remember them. However, what was visible to me was my physical ailments or effects that came after the fact of being taken, of being removed from my home environment or my conscious state, and being a participant in whatever experiments they were doing at the time. And so since childhood, my very first abduction at 5 years old was an implant that they did inside of my uterus. And I very clearly remember coming into this very dark space, and they bring me into a kind of a bed, a medical type of a bed, and I'm laying down on there, and they are inserting the implant at the very, very back and base of the wall of my uterus. And the whole point of that was for them to manage and maintain and monitor when the body would be ready to, hold or incubate the first child or specimen that they're trying to inseminate in the body. And so the second abduction, or the second time that they took me, was later on when I was 16 years old, and I was actually in South America at the time. I was living there, and I was going to an all-girls Catholic school. And I was walking down the cobblestone, road, and I'm all of a sudden, as I'm looking down at my feet, all I see is black, and I'm being brought into this black space out of my reality, which is myself in a city called Oruro in Bolivia, and I'm being brought into this black space, and I'm being brought into another kind of a medical chair. I am again zombied out, and this is where they insert again into my body. And at this point, I'm now 16 years old, and they are putting in the first insemination into the body, and this is a mechanical insemination. And I can feel the very, very cold, gooey substance coming into my body. And the next thing I know, I am waking up in my bed in the darkness, in my room now, in my home. And for the first time in my life, I am aroused. I feel arousal. And, I'm very confused. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know what this feeling is. And the very next day, I become very ill. And at that time, my uncle, who is a doctor, he was a doctor. He passed away now. My uncle Mario. He told me, you must have a stomach infection. You should take something. And so he gives me an antibiotic. I think it was penicillin, and he gives me what does he give me? He gives me ibuprofen for my headache. Anyway, I become so sick that I am just rejecting, and I start to have an allergic reaction to this antibiotic. And I've not been allergic to antibiotics before that. So what is happening, and what I found here, is that, whatever it is that they are inserting into the body, there's several different implantations that have to happen to prepare the physical body to hold, a fetus that they're going to, create in you, to put the biological matter that they're going to mix with your biology. They have to prepare the body chemically in order to hold and create a certain environment for this specimen to gestate in. And so, any kind of chemicals that are put into the body after a fact are going to be rejected. And it's something that I have noticed with other women that I've spoken to that have had abduction, that have had been part of the hybridization program, seem to show that they do have allergies to antibiotics. Now, we're talking about a lot of people around the world that have experienced such a thing. And when you start to see certain patterns in people, it really makes you think about what's going on here. So further to that, I was very sick for another week, and another thing that happened is that my cycle was completely off. And I live a very healthy lifestyle. I'm very healthy with what I eat. I keep my body and my mind very clean. So for me to have my cycle off balance is not something that's common. And so that's something that's very important to state in this, because you will see through what the timeline that I'm sharing with you, that every time that I became severely ill, every time that I had my cycle off balance, it was due to this kind of an insemination that was done. Now, the next time that I was taken, the next time that I was taken was when I was back here in the United States, and I was around 21, 22 years old, and I remember being inserted in the regression with this kind of a blue liquid that enters the body, almost creating like a glove, like an inner bodysuit inside of the body. And this kind of a substance that they are putting in through the throat and through your veins, intravenous, is being injected into the body to create a kind of a very, very, kind of like a coding for your organs and for your entire body to be able to sustain the kind of vibrational information that they're going to inseminate into the body, which will then turn into the fetus, which will create the fetus combined with my biological information. And so what happened is I became so ill the next day, and I end up at the hospital. I fainted 2 times that week, and then I end up at the hospital, and the doctor cannot understand what it is, and he says finally that he believes it's an amoeba, it's an amoeba that's not found here in the States, and that's not very common. And he asked me if I had traveled. I told him the last time that I traveled was when I was in Thailand the year prior. And he says, well, this is an amoeba that incubated for a year, and now it's, coming up. And so, I mean, that's kind of strange, for an amoeba to incubate.
They don't know how to explain things. They just they try to fit it into their reality because it just doesn't compute. So
it doesn't compute.
I've had that experience where they're just trying to explain it so they're grasping at straws.
Yes, they kind of just, and recently I've had another similar experience like that, and they try you like a guinea pig with many different medications and tests and everything, and they can't localize the source of the illness for the body, what the body is rejecting so severely. And so it's really interesting because, the way that these implants are made, you got to understand that they take our DNA and they regrow, our flesh and our information. It's blended with whatever kind of implants that they are putting into the body. So for them, even in a liquid form, whatever they are inserting into the body has to be meshed and combined prior to being inserted into the body. Otherwise, we would die. And, but even then, you were talking about mixing not just, biological matter with this kind of chemical substance that they're combining, but also vibrational information. And when it doesn't align with your vibrational information, your body's going to want to reject that. And so what happened was that this kind of a glove that they have inserted in me was in order to sustain a certain, pH balance, vibrational balance within the body in order to sustain the being that they were going to put into the body. And so after that, I was so severely sick. I was in and out of the hospital for 2 weeks. The doctor was putting antibiotics to try to find the antibiotic that I was not allergic to, and none of them would work. They ordered some rare antibiotic from Germany, and it was just a nightmare. And finally, at the end of 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, everything just stopped. I was 100% fine again. And I went back for tests, and the doctor was like, oh, well, I guess the mixture of antibiotics works, and you're fine now. There's nothing wrong. But I hadn't finished a single cycle of the antibiotics. I took maybe 1, 2, or 3 of those different kinds of antibiotics, but not enough to kill something that would be so prominent like that. Yeah. So it was just...
So let me just stop, because there's a very interesting point here. You're saying they mixed your biology beforehand, and so it's the question of the mitochondrial DNA that the surrogate mother ordinarily transmits to the baby. And so I'm wondering, was your body isolated from giving any more of its mitochondrial DNA to the fetus? And was that just a function of what had been combined before, or were you adding to it while you were carrying it?
Absolutely. So that's a really important question. Thank you for asking, because there are 2 things that are happening there. First of all, yes, they do not want any more of that information coming into the fetus as it's being created. It's a very controlled, environment for the fetus to be growing, because it has to maintain a certain vibrational information. So one thing is the biological information that the body and the DNA is providing the fetus. And of course, anytime that we are taking chemicals or any medicine or any pharmaceuticals that we're taking are going to affect, the DNA and our information. So they do not want any of that to be affecting the fetus. Secondly, from a vibrational perspective, it is absorbing and recording all of the vibrations that I am emitting, during carrying and during the gestation process of the child. So there's very controlled. Two different things are happening there. And so depending on the agenda, now I want to make sure everyone knows that, I have been a part of 3 different hybridization programs, and I have a total of 24 hybrid children, of which part of them are what we may believe, what we understand as low vibrational beings, and other maybe higher vibrational beings, maybe more humanoid beings, and others were a little bit more reptilian humanoid. So different, I've had the ability to see the different agendas, how each one of them carry out their procedures and how they do things. Some of them do it differently, but ultimately the information that the fetus is holding is the most important. So it's always very controlled for their specific agenda. Now,
so wait, let me just ask you this. So that each of these fetuses began their existence in your body with you, the mother, the carrying mother, being very ill. And so that they start with sickness. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're right. During the lower vibration, as you can see, the lower vibration, agenda, I guess you can say, for the lower vibration beings, I would be very sick during the time of carrying the being, and shortly after I would have a miscarriage. I would miss my cycle, and I would be maybe holding for about a week, 2 weeks, top 3 weeks, and then I would have either a miscarriage or it would just be gone completely.
Wow.
So
these.
Do you think they took it? I always concluded that, mine wasn't like a miscarriage. It was just gone. So I think they just came and took it, harvested, like they came back and took it. It had been in there long enough. And that played out, for time. I started doing my cycle because I was going through fertilization because I was my second marriage. I wanted to get pregnant. I haven't never had any live births. And so I had to monitor my cycle by taking my temperature every day. So I knew when I was fertile. And so I correlated it with when they were coming and when they were taking it. And it's like, oh, you guys are taking it. And so that's what I concluded. But what's your theory?
Yeah, absolutely right. And you're right about that. And the interesting thing about it is that, that's right. When I would have the miscarriage, when I would have, there wouldn't be a fetus, because usually when you have a miscarriage, there is a fetus. There's at least some remnants of, whatever was being created there. And otherwise, and sometimes there would be a very heavy, if you say a miscarriage, it was just the lining that was removed, but so heavy that is not very common. So, a lot of times, and then the last couple times that this has occurred, I literally had a positive pregnancy test, and then I had nothing. So, sometimes it's not, they don't even wait for, your cycle to end like that. It'll just clean out on itself. Mm-hmm. So, and the same as you, I wasn't trying to get pregnant, but I hadn't been on birth control since I was 21 because, again, I'm allergic to all medications. I don't take any drugs. I'm really sensitive to all kinds of chemicals of any kind. So, I don't drink. I don't do smoke or, I try to keep a clean vessel. And being able to track all of the movement for my cycles, I knew when my cycle was perfectly in alignment, and the times that I would start to see an anomaly, I would miss my cycle, and it would feel like I'm very pregnant. I would have all the symptoms of having pregnant, even nausea, even the whole 9 yards. And the thing is that there's a couple different things that I have noticed with my experiences is that, they also do speed up the process of gestation. And I've noticed that because of the way that the body will abruptly come into a more advanced state of pregnancy early on, and you can kind of feel that, you know your body, so you can feel that, and then all of a sudden there's nothing. And then the other part of that is that when they take the fetus also, they can take it at an early stage, and they tend to do that because usually within a couple weeks, and some of them take it a little bit later. But the whole purpose of that, and I have been on a hybridization ship, so I have seen the process, is that they incubate them inside of these spherical glass kind of containers that are holding onto like a plasma substance, and they will insert artificial umbilical cord along with other kind of insertions that are helping changing to create whatever it is that they're looking to, the end result is. So, they're playing with genetics. They are combining different kind of DNAs, and that this is where we start getting into the important topic of why is this happening,
Wait, can I ask a little bit about what first? Because the what is it just something localized, or do you get tubercles of Montgomery? Are there changes like that also occur?
Well, I mean, it's something that when you mean physically for me?
I mean, does your nipples little bumps on?
Yeah, do you get enlarged breasts and stuff like that? Oh,
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, that it'll go into a more advanced state in the gestation process. And, I mean, even the stomach will swell. I mean, every symptom that you could possibly think of for pregnancy, and, the sore breasts. So clearly a pregnancy, I mean, you cannot deny that. I mean, I've even had the positive pregnancy tests for it. So, when it comes to that level, and then when you trace back to the history here at the times that you have become ill, and I ended up in the hospital ill, and then they don't find the reason why you became ill, this is when things start to become very real for you, and a lot of women that experience this, and I feel like that's why it's so important to talk about this, that they go through these experiences and they don't know how to explain it, how to explain that they have lost a pregnancy, and some people think that it's because of stress, but then when the fetus is not there and there's no remaining proof, and it keeps happening over and over again, we really have to wonder what is happening with these kinds of patterns. And if you combine that with dreams, with experiences of being inside of medical facilities or being experimented on, then, it really raises a question, what is happening here? And, really, what I've seen over all these experiences that I have is that the most important, what makes us humans important, is our biological information, but not just that, it's our DNA. Our DNA is what holds massive amounts of information. And the information that we are able here to translate is very limited in comparison to the amount of information that we are actually holding on to. And, for me, after everything that I have seen and experienced, it's almost as if DNA is the currency of this reality. It is really, truly the currency of this reality, because it is that is holding. And actually, the other day, I saw this article about Stanford University doing an experiment on how they can mimic using DNA as a storage unit for massive amounts of information, because we haven't gotten to that that level of holding on to that amounts of information that DNA can. And we have barely scratched the surface in regards to the information that we are capable of reading and translating. So that was what happened in the first part of my abductions and in my participation in the hybridization program. But I have gone through several regressions since then. I've had regressions with Barbara Lamb, with Misha Johnson, and with Alba Weinman. And through those regressions, the most incredible thing that have happened to me is seeing information of why we are being taken and what is happening in our reality here. And what I was shown and what I have seen was literally, it's almost as if I was taken in a map of our world, and how different things are being manipulated and moved and shifted in order to create very specific circumstances in our reality here. And, we're talking about the government. We're talking about, the different industries that run our reality here, from the financial, our economy, to the pharmaceutical industry, to our food industry, to the medical industry, and so on and so forth, and even in the religions and whatnot. And so when I looked at this information at first, all of this was very new to me. And it wasn't until I sat down and researched and started to look back at our history. It took me all the way back to Mesopotamia and the origins of our life, of our existence here on this planet. And it opened the door to understanding our origins. And what I was shown is that there are 3 main DNA lines that have come here to this planet. Upon creating the different genetic lines that are here. One of them was a reptilian line, one of them was an inner earth line, and the third was somewhat of a humanoid Pleiadian line. And so these lines were intricately connected and distributed amongst the earth, amongst the people that were being created in yet another hybridization program. Because what we seem to forget is that here on this planet Earth is another hybridization program. So our families, my parents, my grandparents, so on and so forth, those souls that make up this network that we are in, you can imagine it like little bubbles. Everybody has their own little nucleus of a family. But all of those nucleuses of family of information are being connected by vibrational information and patterns of that information through their original journeys. But further to that, it has to do with their genetic alterations that have been done on their DNA through time. And so all of those genetic changes have been being done since the very beginning of time, since our origin. So each one of us is ending up being a cocktail of DNA, basically. We have many different DNA lines that we consist of, and that's why we have our roots in different star planets, and we are becoming more aware of that as we become conscious, as we shed the layers of information. We're coming back to our pure source information and how we are interconnected with many different galactic races and whatnot.
So what is the purpose? Are they just, did they give you a purpose for all this? Or is it just because they can do it? It's just because?
No, there's so many layers to this, Janet, that when you look at what a soul is, okay? So our soul, our human soul, it comes into the physical body. And when it comes in as pure source information, which is infinite, it is the material and the fabric that everything in this matrix universe and beyond is made out of. It comes into the body and consists of that infinite information and is then distributed. And as it comes into the human timeline, the human physical form, it is producing information that will be provided for the DNA, which is also connected to your ancestral line, because our DNA is what connects us to the ancestral lineage. And the soul contains information from even further than that, okay? And all that information is then organized within the chakra system in a very complex but very organized, beautiful manner in which, that is what creates who we are. Our perception, our I, our self, is then created by this information that is organized within the chakra system. And from that is our perception and how we relate to this physical plane here. But as humans, as souls that are infinite, because we are infinite, we have the ability of accessing pure consciousness. And what makes humans different from these other beings, these organisms that are here, I want to refer to them as organisms because ultimately we are all organisms. We are all different entities, just different shapes with different genetic makes. But ultimately, the fabric of consciousness is the baseline for all of our creation here. Even if it's on a lower level or on a higher level, we are all, the basic line is consciousness. And so, when you look at that, at all the different species that make up this matrix universe, you're going to see that some of the oldest races here in this reality date back to the origin of this matrix universe, and they seem to be what appear to be the draconian race. And from what I've seen, this is they are master geneticists that have created the very beginnings of our origins here, with genetically created, whether it's this artificial intelligence or this biological intelligence, because ultimately the human being is the most advanced biotechnology in this universe. And that being said, our ability to move in and out multidimensionally, we have the ability of accessing higher vibrational levels. We have the ability of accessing the lowest vibrational levels. And that very wide range that the human has the ability to access is limited by the physical dimension that we're in. However, the human soul, the source essence, is just encapsulated inside of this physical body. But beyond that, the information and the ability that it has to experience its reality beyond this matrix universe is very vast. It's infinite. And these beings, this matrix universe that was created here by these, I don't know if you want to call it beings or these organisms here, in a way, it's almost as if they are a manifestation or a malformation that have rejected the consciousness within themselves. So they require a live source, a live support to maintain them in their desired vibrational manifestation. And so when you look at the universe and what this matrix universe looks like, beyond that, you can visualize it like a giant egg-shaped organism, and then within that is our small nucleus of our matrix universe. And what we tend to believe is what we think is God or source or infinite consciousness is just the information that is beyond our universe, our reality here. Now, if you take that another step, you're going to see the vast creation of the universe beyond that. And each one of those layers of existence have different fabrics, different threads that are streaming. Like a prism, for example, if you shine a light through a prism, you're going to see different rays of colors. Each one of those different rays of colors is a definition, is a certain separation of information. So that information is basically, fractals of itself, right? And so in that same way, entering different dimensions is a different levels of that information. So basically, bringing it back to home, these beings that are here in this matrix universe require infinite life source from us humans or from source beings that hold this source soul in order to produce vibrational information which they feed off of. And, depending on the race, they are feeding off a lower vibration, which is why it's so important to talk about this, because the things that are happening in our world around us, we can take it to the politics, to, all these problems with Pizzagate, all of this abuse and harm that is being done on children, all of these negative energies that are being created is a certain very low, slow wavelength of information which provides a very heavy food source for these beings. So it's not to say that things are good and bad, because ultimately we have to reintegrate, and I know we don't have a lot of time here, but we are reintegrating duality, and because infinity and source is not one or the other, it is both integrated into one. Mm-hmm. Right? So, as we are here on different dimensions, these races are creating alternate universes or parallel universes in which these hybrids are put in to maybe change timelines within our reality, And that's another subject that's very important, but I don't know if we have time to get into that. And then further than that, depending on the dimensional reality, those hybrids are carrying out our information. And at the same time, we are very connected to all of those hybrid children that we have because they hold our genetic make. They hold our information. So, I know that this is a very vast, very complex subject, that there's so much more to talk about to make it thoroughly understanding, but this is just a quick overview of that.
A quick overview, yeah. So we'll have to have you on for a series, and we'll have all this information eventually out. But we're going to be going into this in great depth at the 2018 Stargate to the Cosmos Expo in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and that's October 25th through 29th now. We've just added, or I'm working on adding, a day of intensives on Monday. So the main conference is Thursday the 25th through Sunday the 28th, and then we're going to have a day of intensives on the 29th. And we're so delighted that you're going to be joining us. Last minute for you, because we're off in 1 minute. Go ahead. How can people reach you? Your website, your books, whatever.
Yes. So I focus on DNA reprogramming to deprogram all the programs that our DNA is holding on to. And you can reach me at bayareameditation.com or geraldineorozco.com. And I'm very happy to work with you. And my whole purpose here is to serve and to talk about these very important topics with you all, from the highest vibration possible, leaving fear aside and integrating the higher self. So I look forward to seeing everyone at the conference.
And what was your website again? Say that one more time.
Oh, yes. It's bayareameditation.com or geraldineorozco.com. You can just find me by my name.
Okay. And how do you spell your last name?
It's Oroz, as in zebra, C-O.
Alrighty.
So thank you so much for having me, Dr. Leslie.
Much love and blessings. Aloha. We'll be back again after this commercial break.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
In breaking news, a visiting Syrian diplomat reported today that their population is evolving rapidly and advancing into a fifth-dimensional consciousness. They are seeking peace with all cosmic cultures, which may mean that the Earth will be asked to join the prestigious Galactic Federation of Light Alliances. Please join Debbie West and Michael Hathaway on Lost Knowledge, Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Studio A, for the latest breaking news on the Star Visitors' peaceful contact and the ongoing project of cleansing the Earth.
Who are you? I am the architect. I created the Matrix. I've been waiting for you. Why am I here? You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision, which has led you inexorably here. You haven't answered my question. The Matrix is older than you know, as you are undoubtedly gathering. The anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equation. Choice. The problem is choice.
Right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Be here Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Private Eye Matrix Revealed with Monique Lassonde.
Hello, my name is Mr. Rowe. I am the host of Reality Extraction. on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I utilize logic, intellect, and magic to methodically autonomize, vivisect, analyze, examine, study, scrutinize, and extract an essence of reality from a fog of illusion and confusion. You can find me on Studio B every Thursday at 1700 hours Pacific Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. No topic taboo, no subject too strange. I strive to take a neutral standpoint during the dissection of the topic at hand. That's Reality Extraction with Mr. Rowe on Revolution Radio.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we are listener-sponsored and commercial-free. But there still are bills to pay. In order to raise some needed funds to cover the cost, our station is offering a silver special. In the continental United States for a $60 donation, or in Alaska, Hawaii, or Canada for a $70 donation, we will send you an uncirculated 2018 1-ounce pure silver eagle. The $70 donation, the extra 10 is to cover shipping, by the way, outside of the continental United States. When making the donation, you must put Silver Eagle promo in the notes on the donation. And thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at revolution.radio and freedomslips.com. Without you, there is no us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Hello, this is Maggie Rose McGrath of The Concord Show.
And co-host Marine Corps Map, coming to you on Monday and Tuesdays in Studio A, noon to 2 Eastern.
And Studio B on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern, with educational, instructional, information, and situational updates, often with wonderful guests on the current landscape in the U.S. and overseas.
This is a go.
We are with you, side to side, and back to back.
Please join us on Monday through Wednesdays,
as well as other hosts and guests here on Revolution Radio.
We're not gonna take it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore. We said we're not gonna take it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Aloha and welcome back to Stargate to the Cosmos on Revolution Radio. And I'm your host, Janet Kira Lesson, with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Alex Lesson. And we just finished with a lovely interview with Geraldine Orozco. And now we have Cassandra Vanzant. But before we bring on Cassandra, I'd like to remind everybody to please go over to your donation button on revolution.radio and make a donation. And we really do appreciate your donation because it really helps us stay on the air and bring you all these incredible shows. So I don't know, Matt, you probably can't see the stats, or can you? On how we're doing?
I got them.
You got them? Okay.
Yeah. We have $2,180. We need $320 yet for the month, and we got 3 days to go. So we
Alrighty.
sure appreciate your donation. One thing I would like to mention is when you leave the chat room, click one of our sponsor buttons. It gives us a couple of cents.
Oh, that's a good idea too. Yes. Click the sponsor button. All right, Sasha, what would you like to say? And then I'm going to stand up and put this cat in the back room because she's going. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So Cassandra's going to life changed like so many other people's with a near-death experience. It's the most amazing thing that this is where people break the matrix, where everything changes for them time after time. People that jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, like 11% of them survive, and all of them they go through the same stages. But when you're through with an experience like that, people are at peace. Something good happens out of it. It opens stuff up. And so it's Cassandra, we're going to listen to your story and how you got into what you got into and what its consequences are. Good to meet you.
Yes, well, nice to meet you, Cassandra. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. Yes, near-death experience does make a difference in someone, and it does. You can't come back not changed. That's exactly right. And I know that when I had mine, that was when I saw my spirit guide, my angel, and my ET. So I was taken into a room in order to get messages from these three beings. And I remember I was really upset because I was looking for God and I had to take time out for my spirit guide to go into this room and talk to everyone. And I said, I am dead, so I need to find God. And they said, don't worry, we just need to talk to you. So I went in there and I had a conversation with all three of them. I can't remember what was said, but I do know that when I got out, I said, okay, I'll see you later. Now I'm going to go find God. So when I did start my journey to find God, this was all, telepathic information when I was communicating with everyone. And I was doing the same with trying to find God. And I kept saying in my mind, I'm here, I know I'm dead, and where are you? And when I started to continue to ascend, I saw a brilliant green tunnel that I went through. And this tunnel was I can't even describe the color because it was so real and so alive, and it enveloped me when I went through it. And I thought, oh, this is really nice. I really, really like this. But, I have a mission. I have to find God. So I came out of the tunnel, and I remember looking up, and in a very far distance, I saw the brilliant white light. And I started to go toward it. And I'm getting closer and closer, and I'm saying, okay, here I am. And the light got brighter and bigger. And then I reach this light, and I go into it. And not realizing, though, when I go into this light, it's not a light. It was the God energy. So I went into that God energy. And while I was there, again, I was told some things, but I can't remember what they were. But I do remember the only thing that I recall saying and getting an answer to was when I said, can I stay? And as soon as I said that, I heard the most disappointing but loving answer, and it was not yet. And as soon as I heard those words, I slammed back down into my body. So that was the start of everything. They said that, the star seeds especially, you're activated at a particular time. And you are activated like this so you can remember who you are and what you're supposed to be accomplishing, what your mission and your purpose was. Well, that was when I believe I was 28, And it was Thanksgiving, and I was going to turn 29 the next month. And it didn't change me to know what my mission was until years and years and years later. So it's only been about 6 to 7 years that I've been working with the star families, and I've been helping people. But it took me that amount of time to remember what it was that I was supposed to do. And you know, time on Earth is so much longer than time in the universe. So it could have been a blink of an eye, but I've gone through a lot of different changes over my lifetime, and I, you know, am brought to this time and space right now. So it was my time to be activated. Luckily, not everyone has to have a near-death experience to do this, but that's just how I had to do it.
So, what are these star families that what you alluded to something? Tell us what that's all about.
The star families.
Right, and then, after you're done with that, because I'm going to go on mute because I don't want to make noise, and I have this noisy cat and I can't catch her. But after you get to the star family one, I wanted to know what caused your death, because we had a guest on, and depending on how you die, you have different deaths. You know, like if you get knocked out of your vehicle by a car or something, or you die of a disease. So there's different things that happen to you when you have near-death experiences based on how you die. So answer his question first, and then answer mine. And I'm going to put mine on mute so I don't bother.
Okay.
I'm going to try to catch his cat too, but I want to listen, so I'm going to let it go. Okay.
Okay. The star families that I'm alluding to is how I began speaking in the galactic language, because, again, I came back with telepathic abilities because that's what I was doing when I was there. I, spoke to everyone mind to mind. So when I came back, I still had it. Years later, I was talking to people's guides, my angels. It went in order. And then now it was the ETs. So one day I just started to speak this language. I was driving in the car and I just started to speak this language that I didn't know anything about. And I started to get into it more and going, what is going on here? And the telepathic means that I had when I was talking, I was saying, who is this and what's going on? That's when I heard that we are your family and it's your star family. So where I am from the universe, from the cosmos, my ETs, because I did meet up with the ET, and that was the last person I met up with after my near death. These are the people that I am in contact with, and I'm also in contact with other people's, and they asked me to call them star families. So that's why I have star family messages. I give messages from the star families to my clients. So I'm in touch with them, and I call them star families because it sounds better than ETs. So when you're looking at that, that's how I communicate with them, and they communicate with me.
Wow. Could you tell me if Enki or Nima have anything to tell me or Janet?
Did you say Janet?
Yes, Janet. I would like to hear from Nima.
Spell that, Nima?
Ninmah. She's also known as Ninharsag, or Mommy. She is the mother of us all.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm going to connect with that person. I'm going to give you a message that they're giving me, and then they'll translate it afterwards. So I just feel I need to do it like that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Fine.
Nima. Nik on the shit do shitai mataya shikira moshula na hai te kishi terra mateta Dokoya sisera no daria masi. Lokoshike kal aisusu suramatera. Nokoshi nahe do ishi naha merikula. Lehi la papayushu kai. Nahashitu ishi na mahe. Lekula mashika la mashutai. Know that what you are doing right at the moment is being guided and you are being led by very, very strong entities and beings that are here for you. Know that at times it feels overwhelming, but when you look to us, you call to us, you think to us, then we are here and we're helping you right at this very moment. In fact, there are more things to come that will help you in the long run. So the season that you're going through right now will become quieter and gentler, and all of the things that you need to do will be revealed one step at a time. That's what they have to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was wonderful.
Yapata.
So then Sasha wants to know what Enki says, if you can reach Enki.
Enki.
Adonai.
Enki. It is Naromba una siunte se Nia seke papa in siura baba siri kila da mbai usi bet yumba unko koeshi mate si lo magamba he wada he na na ku mai si mate he na ba hem bai umte kashita mashita nukula mariam de e ma bashi mbai leki laki lupapashi. Oh, all the things that are working now for you are going to be exploding. Know this one, because you also are a warrior and you are going to be going places. You know that all the things that you are doing now, again, are leading up to one of the most ultimate satisfactions that you have been looking and searching for. So when you look, you're going to find. Know this without a doubt. All is coming to you very, very quickly.
Wow. Thank you. My what that is, my most fervent wish is for a peace on this earth.
There's something about this person when they were coming through, and with yours too, Janet, whatever it is that you're doing for, not so much, I don't want to say not so much for Mother Earth, but for parts of humanity that really need everything that you are exposing or putting out. So there's something about what you're doing that will create a ripple. So it's a ripple effect. It'll just keep going on and on and on.
Oh, I hope so.
Don't hope. No, just know.
I know so. I do. I've seen it with this conference. But on January 1st, they said to me, whoever this is, vacation's over. You've got to do Stargate to the Cosmos this year in 2018. And so I said, okay, if you want me to do it and I start the process, you got to show me that it's the right direction. Give me a bunch of yeses. And boy, this thing is exploding. And I know it's not about me. It's about the next step that we have to do. And this collective, of which you are a part of, this energy that we're creating, this coherent field, it's going to blow the lid off of everything. And I really appreciate you being a part of this, for showing up and saying yes and coming on board. So thank you.
Well, I was at the last minute, and you know how this works. So Solaris said, "Are you going to be at that conference?" I'd never even heard of it. So I thought I'll email you and see what's happening, and then that was all they wrote. So
that's all they wrote. Yeah. So wow. So you're on this incredible path, and I see this so often with experiencers that they'll be exposed to something which launches them into their path to higher consciousness. And I think we're reaching that critical mass 100th monkey level, because my girlfriend called me. She says, it's on television shows. Like I guess there's something about dating, The Bachelorette or something, or The Bachelor. And this girl comes on and they say, "What's with the pink hair?" And she says, "Oh, I'm an ET. Don't mind me. I'm an ET." So it's like it's common. Like people are referring themselves, and they didn't blink an eye. They said, "Okay." I mean, they weren't making fun of her. They didn't. She was serious. And I'm not. And they took it seriously. So that was very, very interesting. Yeah.
Love your Cylon.
Love your inner Cylon.
Oh. And
that was the other thing that's been so that people debating is like, what is AI? Is it good? Is it bad? What? Yeah, and you were going to say something, but that's part of the question I want to put on the table is what do you think AI is? But go ahead with your question.
Well, is that the artificial intelligence that you're talking about?
Yes.
AI.
Huh?
Right.
Okay.
Is Minerva our friend?
Well, it's artificial. So, it's like sweetener. Is that good for you? I that's the only thing that I can say with that. That's the only comment, because I'm looking at, a name says a whole lot. So, I don't know. I don't feel, it all depends on who's putting in the intelligence. So, I can't really say any more than the fact that it's artificial. It's not the real thing. No, Janet, you had asked how I had my near-death experience.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's go back to that one.
That was by a car accident. So my ex-husband, or husband at the time, was drunk and decided to pull in front of a car in the middle of an intersection. And that was back in the 80s. That's when, they didn't really enforce seatbelt laws. And I went through the windshield, came back, and then got lodged underneath the dash of the truck. And then they had to cut me out. So it was very, very traumatic. And I fortunately didn't know anything more about it until the minute, I woke up, because everything went black. And afterwards, the sad thing about it was I had this wonderful experience, because when I was sent back, when the God source said not yet, I mean, I literally just slammed back into my body. And where I was in, a room all by myself with a sheet over my head. So I was dead. And I slammed back in my body just in time for somebody to be walking by to see that. So, they rushed me into the ER and started to stitch me up and everything. But when I got home, I was telling my husband at the time, you won't believe what happened. You won't believe, the things that I saw and what was going on. And he didn't want anything to do with it. He didn't want me to talk about it. He didn't want anything. But obviously there was guilt involved there. And I had this all by myself. I had no one to talk to, until the universe sent a wonderful friend into my life, and I could tell her these things, and she wouldn't go, "Are you nuts?" She'd just go, "Tell me more."
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I did.
Well, we're glad you had somebody to witness you. And that's really important for people to listen and don't judge. If anybody's out there and it's This isn't your reality. First of all, if you start judging it, you're not going to get the full story. You're not going to find out what's going on. You're never going to know the person.
Well, that's when
in front of you, and it might be someone you love.
When people started to come to me, especially when I was on the Anderson Cooper show, they aired it. People started emailing me, and they were like, "Oh my God, can you tell me? I have this experience. Do you think I'm crazy, or can I talk to you?" Or, they were very, they were starving for someone that would not judge them. If somebody tells me I just saw a ship, the first thing I do is tell me about it. And they kind of look at me like, what? And I'm like, no, tell me everything. I want to know. And then they open up, because that was, that's their truth. And that's the thing that they need to embrace. And if it's just one person that helps them, then that's all they really need, because it will start opening up more to them. You know how many people close down when they see a ship or have an experience or an encounter? They close down, and they can't enjoy what experience was there, because they're afraid of the stigma or the taboo or being labeled or however you want to put it. So when you have, like what you're having, this conference, the expo, I can guarantee you there's going to be a lot of people there that have had some sort of experience and are coming to either get validation or to know that they're not the only ones.
Right.
That's so right on. And what people resist will persist, and until they finally examine it in a place and a time and a space that's right for them, where they can explore and be encouraged rather than discouraged, and they're not pushed to go faster than they wish. And so that's the atmosphere that we create, where we respectfully listen to each other and our stories expand. And as we hear each other's stories and our experiences, it resonates, because we are making a coherent field with the people that we're sharing with. And it's amazing what happens in these groups when people start sharing.
Oh, I imagine. That's why I just feel that you're going to have a lot of people there who, they're going to be coming out of their, ET closet and embracing who they are, because they can make contacts, or, they can get validation or confirmation or whatever it is that they need. So that's what's going to be exciting about it. That's where just doing this and all the work that you went through to get this, it's going to be rewarded by so many people.
It feels like a movement of people whose reality has been denied, and now we're saying these are our experiences. And people that were in the Super Soldier program starts identifying each other, and more memories coming back. And it's like our work. It's contagious when you enter a coherent field with other people. Some of the wisdom that and being that they are enters into your consciousness and yours into theirs. And so that's this wonderful thing that's happening, that we're special people who have been brought together because collectively we have a huge message for the world, which is, let's listen to each other and respect each other's realities and learn from each other.
Yeah, we all mesh. We have this part of us that needs to come together. And when that happens, the world's going to hear. I mean, the world has got to hear about what's going on, but not everyone's going to accept it. So that's okay too. We're reaching out for those that will accept it and are in it, to take it to the next level, because I feel there's going to be a next level.
Mm-hmm. And part of it is to accept the people that aren't accepting. Like you're okay. Yes. If your way of looking at things is fine by you. Let me enjoy your happiness that you're sharing with me. Thank you. It's like all you got to do is be yourself and be loving, and it catches if people want to catch it. Hey, what's she drinking? I want some of that.
Yes. When I'm talking, I do let people know, I'm just telling you my truth. This is my truth. You don't have to embrace it. You have your own truth, but you wanted to hear it, so I'm telling it to you. And that's, seems to make everything smoother. I'm not going to convert anyone. That's not my job. My job is to just get the word out and reach the people I'm supposed to.
Cassandra, I just got to ask you something, because, Cassandra was the person that could see what was coming down, but nobody would ever believe her in Homer.
Right.
And I just wonder what that name means to you, that you got Cassandra for your name.
Well, there are no mistakes. So someone else had told me about that too, and I went, oh my gosh, I hope that's not the truth. But I don't know. I'm supposed to be doing this, and I know in my own gut that not everyone is going to hear it, and that's okay. I'm not supposed to reach everyone, but when I do get to talk, when I do get a platform to talk, then I just tell it like it is. And I hope it reaches the ears that are supposed to hear it.
What good outcomes can this planet have? How close are we? What would it look like if we have what you would consider great outcome?
A great outcome if people accepted what was going on. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
A great outcome. Well, I feel that we would have more visitations, more disclosures. I feel that things would open up, like the sky would open up, and then you would have those beings that can come here and help. But my fear is that the greatest thing that will come out of this is a lot of people will be awakened. Still needs to be kept a little under wraps because people just aren't willing. There are those people that actually, of course, they want to sabotage it, because if we have access to beings that have a way to help us, then that would not work for certain people. So they would actually want to sabotage this. They don't want this to happen. So we have this wonderful thought that, yes, this would be wonderful and the world would get along and there would be no more wars or famine. But that's not really how I see it, because there's always those people that have to control. And so they're controlling the masses, the people that are being put in fear, and who are being bribed in a way to keep this 3D life, because we can all experience the wonderful life besides this 3D. You've probably had experience as well as I have when you are reaching out. The universe really lets you see some things that are totally cool, not just coincidences, but people who come into your life, or things magically appearing, or, the magical part, the magic of life. So we're never going to have that balance. There's always going to be someone who wants to control, but we can tip the scales the more we get everything out there. So when we're tipping the scales, then the people who have control won't have as much. And then, you can say, well, you're, 100 steps ahead of them now. And it just keeps going and going and going. So that's the best outcome that I can see. I mean, I would like it to be, everything would be perfect and, the world would be rosy. But I don't feel that, because we still have people who want to control.
Wow. That could have been Cassandra, the daughter of Priam, way back in Troy. I could feel the energy of the images of those echoes, Cassandra. Wow. But so the real question for me is, if I and all of us created this experience I'm having now. We existentialists would say that the challenges that we feel that are designed to motivate us, that we are being controlled by a hierarchical, misogynistic, warmongering murderers who stab each other and keep people enslaved financially or by gunpoint, and can we compromise with these people and find out some way of giving them love and attention, and so they're human beings and they remember that we are they and they are we. Look what happened to President Carter. He turned into a human being later on after he wasn't president. It's like, is there some way we can get past separation and make it win for everybody?
Honestly, I don't feel it. I would love to say that, but they're not giving me anything. It's like, no, because this is the way this world is set up, and it would be great, to have that, but I don't feel it, because there are people, and in my first book, 2012, Coming Out of the Coma, they talked about the controllers. So the controllers are those who say, don't worry, we'll do it for you, or you don't have to do this, we'll do it. So eventually, over the eons, they take over not so much your free will, but your ability to connect with Source, because they can do it, you don't have to do it. And then you're being led around by them. That's how it's not an overt type of control. It's covert, and it just slides. It's the frog in the boiling water thing. It's just if it's very slowly but surely, and you don't know until you have people like you and Janet who are willing to, go crazy and just say, hey, we're going to do this one big thing, and we're going to reach a lot of people so they get out of that pan and start living or see what's out there other than the fact that what they have been told and what they have been controlled to believe.
Yeah, anyone that starts examining evidence and taking testimony from people who are telling you what their experience is, and you shut up and listen, it becomes overwhelming. How in the world are people swallowing the disinformation that's being passed out on purpose to instead of looking at the data of real people saying what they experienced and the pictures that they have? You should see the photos we have from our whistleblowers.
Yes.
People had experiences and they document it with each other and they cross-check. And the more that we start talking, the more that we realize, oh my gosh, there's this big picture that's coming together for all of us. We're remembering stuff. Janet, are you still with us?
Yes, I was listening to the conversation. I have a different, maybe I'm on a different timeline, but I see this all falling, like the Berlin Wall fell and, the Vietnam War ended. I've seen a lot of times the major transitions from one paradigm to another, and it almost happens overnight, or it did, like the Berlin Wall. We woke up and there was the Berlin Wall and people couldn't get past it. They all lived their lives in this slavery, but then all of a sudden it was gone. By sundown, it was gone. So I've seen these miracles, and I'm just a firm believer in the humanity and our ability to transcend and move around. And a daughter of a man who went through World War II, and a mother who went through that as well, and the Depression. And I've seen them personally go through major transitions and translations, and evolving and becoming in their lifetime. They're both deceased now. I see it that, we're going to just wake up and say, oh, enough of that. That was interesting, but next. And that's not the reality I choose to experience it. I know there's something more kind and loving. That's all my opinion, but what do I know?
Okay. It's interesting. Yeah.
Silence.
My intellect tells me that everything's perfect the way it is, and it's just exactly what you need, what I need at this very moment, and it's including these considerations that we're having, and it's couldn't be any other way because it's all part of something that's part of a bigger something. That's my take on it.
Oh, I agree. Everything right now is perfect exactly as it's supposed to be. I do agree with that.
Cool.
Great. So, it's impossible to predict the future, yet in some way, time is fluid. So maybe we can.
Maybe we
can.
can.
The future, we can affect the past.
Well,
yeah. So
what Caroline Corey was telling us is one of the things that you can do is alter you can go back in time, and you can also change the future by going back in time in all kinds of ways. And she demonstrates this with the two-slit experiment. How it keeps there. It's all so fluid that anything, and Stephen Greer says the same thing, that even though things seem like they're fated, like this apocalyptic vision that you have seems most likely, even though that seems most likely, it's still there's still opportunities, especially for intervention with the kind of people that you're talking about. The tall grays are Anunnaki. We know they've come back to. We are their project. They made us, and they better get the hell back here and help us. And they said they would, and they're coming. And Galzu has sent them, and they're here. That's who you talk to.
Mm-hmm. I just want to let you know, I don't look at it as apocalyptic. I look at it as you're always going to have people who want to control. But we can take away the people they want to control and leave them twiddling their thumbs. So I don't really feel that those people who are here to control are just going to go, well, okay, let's just be all love and light. I don't feel that that's going to happen because you have this balance, if you want to put it that way. Everything has to have a balance. So you have, people who want to control, people who don't want to be controlled, and people are going to help save or get rid of the ones that or lead them to the light. The ones that are being controlled, you can lead them to the light, and they can say, yes, this is what I want, or they can say, no, this is not what I want. So that's the only part that I'm just getting a picture of a movie. I don't know who was in it, Sylvester Stallone or somebody, but it was of the future, and everyone was so nice and happy, and they did all of these things, and he comes back after being frozen. He was a prisoner or something. He comes back, and then they're in this wonderful society, but yet there were still people that wanted to mess that up. And I feel that is part of this existence. So some people want to stay like that. Some people don't. We just want to know that we're getting the word out to the people that don't know that this is a possibility that you can change.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've listened really carefully to what you're saying, and you make so much sense to me, total sense to me, especially that the way to deal with it is to withdraw from the institutions, to stop participating in institutions and behaviors that support the greedy, hierarchy, dominant, selfish people.
Well, do you know how many people now don't own TVs or don't watch the news? They're learning. These are the news, and of course, TV and certain television programs. They're there to program you. That's why they call it a television program. And that's also with the news. The news is, oh my God, I refuse to watch it. I might read a little bit, but I refuse to watch it. And it just it really just grates against my soul. And I know it's doing that because it's not right, it's not real, or they're trying to get something over on people. They're, the misinformation, and why are they doing that? All these things that happen, big events that happen all of a sudden, what are they doing? They're making a distraction. Why are they making a distraction? You never find out why until months later. So while you were messing around with this and being all bothered by what was going on, this was in actuality happening.
Right. Yep. Distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Diversion.
Well, there's something to be said about the container for the polarity. I've had other guests, and they've conveyed the same thing, that in order to have the light, you have to have the dark. Mm-hmm. Because we're in this operating system of the polarity paradigm. So my question is, and I think that that's what's being discussed, or it's happening on some level, is moving from this current operating system, like going from Mac to Windows, right? Mm-hmm. And to have something, a different container for the creation of diversity and creation itself. We need to have a container, like the platform upon which we act out things and create things. So that's part of the information I got, is that's what the the cycles through the galaxy is about. That we're actually going to shift, and that's why they call it the ascension process. We're going to shift into a new paradigm for this next phase of creation.
But
and I don't know if it's true or not, but it just seems like there's something like that. Yeah.
Do you take that? Do you take that literally when you say shift, or are we talking about in our thinking and our knowing?
I think it's a real shift. Well, it is in our thinking and knowing, but the change in our that's what's creating the reality, is our thinking and knowing. So we're all co-creating it. So as we raise consciousness across the continuum, things will shift more towards the light. Maybe what I got in a download is that we're going to have a whole different operating system, because this universe has this operating system. This one has Mac or something. Mm-hmm. But the one next to it, the one over there, has a different operating system. And the operating system upon which everything plays out is much different than what we are dealing with, this light and dark, good and evil polarity system.
Okay, I think I know where you're coming from. Yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I think from my interactions with extraterrestrials and my downloads and my 64 years of living and my psychic intuition, is that we're going through a major shift or transition, and everything will change, kind of like what the Bible says, in a twinkle of an eye. Mm-hmm. So to be prepared for that, it takes shifting our own consciousness to be. It's like you'll see it when you believe it. So if you spend your life, in dark and evil thoughts, and everything's doom and gloom, and you're always victim, and that's what you create. But right. What you said earlier is like we're shutting off TV because it's just so overwhelming. I don't watch TV. I watch Netflix, and I zoom past anything with violent imagery. Like in 2 seconds, I might look at oh God, violence. I throw it away. I'm not exposing myself to that. I'm looking for things that will help me go to sleep. Something uplifting. Why do I want to kill, murder right before I go to sleep? No. Something really raise my personal energy and consciousness, and be prepared to receive my download from the guides, or whatever we call them, that interact with me. So go ahead, sweetheart.
Cassandra, we still got you. Yeah, this is because I'm so immersed in these people. There's a dude, his name is Toth, or Ningishita, and he's his niece has told me that he's among the group of Anunnaki tall grays who have come back to assist us. Could you ask your star people that if Ningishita Cuckoo Clan, we know who, if he has anything he would like to tell us.
Okay. Did you mention, you said Toth?
Yes, it's the same person. And the Sumerians called him Ningishita. The Egyptians called him Toth. The Mayans called him Cuckoo Clan or Quetzalcoatl. He's the same dude.
Got it. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, so your question was, is this person coming back to help us?
Yes, exactly. I think, I believe he's here.
Okay.
What would he like to tell us? We need to hear from him.
Hold on for just a minute, Toth.
Sure.
I have to call him Toth because it just resonates with me with the Egyptian part. Let's connect. Neum Deum Ish Yum Jinamada Neum Deum Isha Mario De She Bata Isim Neum Naum Ashiuma Neum Dashum Leumba Iru Shikum Ne Neum Naum Jishui Erum Peku Eshe Keko Se Tehem Tai Umasi Nabahai. I am here, never doubt what is coming to you. For now is not the time to expose what I am doing, but know that I am here. I am here. Trust what you feel, trust what you get, and know that all things now are coming into the light, and all the light is going to be shining very soon for all to see. What is very soon? It is not what you feel in the realm that you're living in right now. It means it can happen at any second. So look, watch, and listen. That's what he has to say.
Oh, thank you. Shalom.
That resonated. That was good. I like that.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good. So we're coming down to the last 5 minutes. What would you like to tell our listeners? What do you want them to know about you and your work?
I am here to, number one, help those who need to know their experiences are real, to let them connect to their star family, to see their star family if they want to. I can draw them, and to also teach them how they can do this themselves. So I'm a teacher, and I've known this for a lot of times. It's I teach, and I teach a variety of different things. So anyone who needs to know more, go to my website and check it out, CassandraVanzant.com, and let me know if how I can help you, and go from there, because that's what it's all about. It's getting the word out, and it's starting to really progress. And that's the part that I like about it. So there is hope. I'm doing my job. You're doing your job. Janet and Dr. Lesson, you're both all doing your jobs. And that's what we have to do. We do our job. So we're star seeds. We're putting that seed out there. We're watching it grow. And we're getting people who we're supposed to help. And that's the greatest thing in the whole entire world for me. It's that feeling that, yes, I helped you because this is what I was supposed to do. So that's the biggest thing.
So
Beautiful.
when you come to Stargate to the Cosmos conference, and that's
Mhm.
yes, you're going to be teaching some things. What are your workshop? What's the name of your lecture, and what are you going to be teaching at the conference?
Oh, I don't have it in front of me right at the moment.
Okay.
My lecture is about connecting with your ETs, I believe. And the workshops that I wanted to do are about, oh my gosh, you put me on a spot here. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
The workshops, I know. The first one is about healing with tonal vibration from the ETs. And the second one that I wanted to do is about using the ET message cards that I created and getting answers to your questions.
Oh yeah, that was very. So how did these cards come about?
These
have
came
2 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. These came about when, about 6 years ago, I was told I needed to draw the ETs, so I started to draw them. And then I started to draw other people's ETs, and then I have this whole collection of drawings, and they said, you need to put these in card form because, number one, it's easier to carry around, and number two, it's a message card. So you put our images on there, we will put what the person needs, and then go from there.
Wow.
So that's what I did.
That's great.
And there are 37 cards. They have different races on them, and it lets you know what you're seeking. So if you have an answer, then you can go through these cards and get that. Or if you have a question, go through the cards to get your answers.
Lovely.
I can't wait to see them. They sound very, very interesting.
Yeah, they're all original artwork. So you can see them on my website. You can see a sample of them on my website. I have them
What's the name of your website again?
Spread out a little bit.
Yeah.
CassandраVanzant.com.
Okay. And we're coming up at the top of the hour. So just wanted to invite everybody to come to Stargate to the Cosmos, October 25th through the 28th at the Ramada Midtown in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And the website is stargatetothecosmos.org. And I'm not sure where our exit music is, but any final words, Sasha?
Just become yourself. Ask Mr. Goodbye.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back.
Right. Where are you going to next? Besides that, any other workshops or conferences or other events?
I don't have anything
Thank you
right
for listening
now,
to
but I'm
Revolution
sure it's
Radio
coming up.
at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the
Thank
sole
you so much.
discretion and
Aloha.
benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at higher risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we are listener-sponsored and commercial-free. But there still are bills to pay. In order to raise some needed funds to cover the cost, our station is offering a silver special. In the continental United States for a $60 donation, or in Alaska, Hawaii, or Canada for a $70 donation, we will send you an uncirculated 2018 1-ounce pure silver Eagle. The $70 donation, the extra 10 is to cover shipping, by the way, outside of the continental United States. When making the donation, you must put Silver Eagle promo in the notes on the donation. And thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at revolution.radio and freedomslips.com. Without you, there is no us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.